What if the most powerful thing you can bring to a boardroom is exactly what they told you to leave at the door? Today, we are talking about what it means to lead with your whole self and build a legacy that brings the boardroom and the culture. If you are ready to build your legacy in real time, you are in the right place. Let's go. Hey, and welcome back to Women of Color Live, the live version of Women of Color, an intimate conversation, a top 20 women's empowerment podcast. We center and empower women of color. We also have a community for Black women 50 plus, the Dream Lifestyle Collective. So I want to shout out our production team at the Leon Thomas Group, and specifically thank you for being on the ones and twos and keeping us together. Today's guest is Kaila James. She's a senior strategic global leader, cultural architect, and recording artist, which I did not know, who has spent over a decade driving large-scale transformation and proving that powerful leadership centers culture. So today, this month, April, we're highlighting women who build legacy in real time. And before I welcome Kaila, make sure you all are engaging with us. Let us know you're out there. Drop WOC in the comments. Drop Dreamer if you're part of the Dream Lifestyle Collective. And drop your questions because we want to engage with you. Kaila, welcome to Women of Color Live.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you and all the ladies here today. So excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to have you as well. And so y'all who are watching, listening, if we forget ourselves, forgive us because we're used to kicking it in person. So now we're doing it in front of you all. So let's get into it, Kaila. Who were you before the title, before the credentials, before the build? And what was the decision that shifted how you saw yourself as someone built to lead?
Well, I think before the title, I was a natural leader. And I don't think that because of, me self-proclaiming that over myself. I think it was more so just the people around me tended to look to me for answers or to provide guidance. I was a bossy child. From what I remember, I grew up around a lot of adults. And so because of that, I think there's just a level of confidence that came with being around older people, the way I spoke, the way I showed up in the room. And as I continued to grow, I just leaned into that. It just naturally began to happen in the different environments I was in. And I don't think I always thought of myself, though, as a leader, because I'll use the example of when I was in college, I ran track for UTSA. And so I think my junior year, the track team voted me to be the team captain. And I was like, oh, I feel so special. Y'all want me to be the team captain. But I never thought of myself as that person that people were looking to for guidance. I was a good athlete, but I wasn't great. I wasn't winning a bunch of races, but I think they felt like I was somebody that I can trust, and I really value being that person. The shift, I think, happened actually recently, a couple of years ago. I got into a role that I always dreamed of. I was traveling all over the world. I felt like I was really driving impact, but I lost myself in the process. I really poured everything I had into that space, but I was neglecting my mental health. I was neglecting my wellness. I wasn't getting good rest, and your body keeps score. Your body keeps count. And so when I got through the other side of that and started reintegrating wellness for myself and also setting up those boundaries, I think it really shifted the way that I thought about how I showed up in the space, really showed up in my workspace and my environment, that this is not worth it. It's not worth you doing all of this. You can give, but you don't need to give from a cup that's empty. And so that recalibration has really allowed me to show up more authentically by setting up, being able to say no, and that be a full sentence.
I love all of that. And so I want to kind of go back to something that you said earlier. And again, this podcast is about empowering women, right? And so
Yeah.
language is very important. And you said bossy. So
Yeah.
bossy, let's lean into that word because it, in essence, it is, kind of negative. It has a negative connotation to it,
Yeah.
right? But we're going to reclaim it, right? We're going to
Yeah.
reclaim it as it's leadership. So when you're seeing little girls who you look as and you're thinking, oh, this person is bossy. No, that person is a leader. She's showing leadership skills early, which is what you did, right? And there's so many of us who did that. So bossy is a good thing. So when you're
the boss, from what I remember, I was the boss, baby. When we were picking people to go on the team to play tech, I was the one choosing the people.
The one, okay, choosing. That's what I'm talking about. And then, your dream job. So having your dream job, having what you wanted to have for yourself, and then getting so caught up in it, if you will, getting lost in it, as you mentioned, and then having a step back, right? Because when we started having those conversations around that and what things you should do and what things you should consider. And so wellness was like a key thing that you just mentioned. So important. We have to take care of ourselves. And that should always be first and foremost, self-care for ourselves, and then defining what that self-care looks like. And you shared some things that you were doing. You also mentioned boundaries.
Yeah.
Again, key, very important. No.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is. There's nothing else that needs to be said. No. And keep it.
And it's hard. It's really hard to implement boundaries when I think about the kind of person that I am. I want to help and I want to be available. I want people to feel like I'm a safe place to be, a safe place to confide in. And sometimes you got to say, I don't have capacity for that right now. I don't have the ability to meet you where you are. And I should have the ability to lay that boundary and say, right now is not a really good time. I really want to be there for you, but I can't show up in the way that you need me to, or I don't want to show up right now. And that's okay too.
And that's okay. We don't have to want to, and we don't have to always be there for someone, right? But key is knowing ourselves and taking care of ourselves first. And then you also talked about recalibrating.
The recalibration was so big. And I think you were a huge part of that as well, going through that journey of redefining who I am and what do I want. I got what I wanted. But when I was praying about it, when I was asking for it, I didn't put parameters around what it would cost me in order for me to maintain it and sustain it. And so during that time, I really thought about like, who is Kaila and what does she really want to do? What are the things that I'm naturally good at doing? I'm good at communicating. I'm good at establishing relationships. So how can I incorporate and infuse that as a part of my role without draining myself to a level or to a place where I'm not really able to show up as a best version of myself because I've given too much into a space, an area, or an environment.
Yeah. And so, so leaning into this next question is really, what you did, what you went through, and what you're still going through. So let's get into that. What did you
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you want to finish a thought from
No, I was going to jump in and start answering.
You're ready, right?
I'm ready, girl. I'm ready.
Look, she's ready to answer. But this is how we do, right? So what did you have to unlearn to fully step into what you're building? And how has that changed how you define legacy now? So that's different than what you shared, right? What did you actually have to unlearn?
I had to unlearn that I wasn't qualified. And what I thought qualified meant is that you needed more time or you needed or required more experience in order to lead in a certain kind of way. I think I thought about the people that I consider to be leaders, the people I consider to be mentors. And I had to really take a step back and notice that people were starting to ask me those same questions and that there wasn't anything that I needed to do more of to earn that level of consideration or that people valued my opinion. Another thing that I would say that I had to unlearn was that I needed to be passionate about one thing. I have really had a hard time with like self-help books or, you know, different podcasts and panels, listening to them, and the person speaking on the panel, this is their story, this is their journey, that they identify they always had a fire about that one thing, and then they relentlessly pursued it.
Yeah.
Whereas I have always had multiple interests. I was able to navigate a lot of different creative spaces and do well in those spaces, and making the decision that you do not have to choose. You can take baby steps in certain directions, and then you start to be magnetic once you open yourself up to start pursuing certain things, where you attract other people to support you. And so I had to unlearn that I don't have to just choose one thing. I can do all of the things. And that was a huge weight, I think, that was lifted off of me, because it allowed me to a level of freedom to navigate more openly the world that I'm and in the environment that I'm trying to create for myself, and the experiences that I want to have. And I said this before, but I really want to reiterate the point of like earning something. I think us as Black women and being qualified, you feel like you have to do a thing in order to get a thing. And sometimes that could be like tit for tat, or you feel like you just you have to give something to somebody for you to be in a certain spot or position. And that's something that I really had to unlearn. Sometimes it's just you, because of who you are and maybe the energy that you bring into a space. That's all that anyone is looking for. That's all anyone is asking for. And that maybe they're not asking for anything. They just want you to be there. And they feel like you would be a good fit there. And that's all you needed to do. So that's another thing that was a bit challenging to navigate, was learning that I didn't have to earn something all the time in order for it to be for me.
Yeah. And I love that. And it goes back to you, right? It starts with us.
Yeah.
It starts with us getting clear about who we are, what we want, and what we bring to the world, you know, our assets and all of that. So I want to kind of talk about what you said about the one thing. Now, you have multiple interests. Do they overlap, or are they like totally different?
I feel like they all complement each other, from the standpoint that all of them center around community, the culture of people. I like art. I like food. I am good at cooking. I love hosting events in my home. I love creating a space that allows it to feel like home. I like having conversations with people that feel magnetic, that feel natural, that produces a certain flow. Like you go into a flow state, I think is what they call it now, where you're just riffing off of each other.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of experiences that I really enjoy. The recording artist element, my dad was a professional singer for a majority of my life, and is still a professional singer. He has 2 albums. I think he's won a Stellar Award. He's in the Music Hall of Fame in Dallas. And so that creativity has always been a part in different, you know, artistic modalities shown up in my life. And so I think from that standpoint, I like to categorize it, like I said before, as a home. And within a home, you have food, you have spaces where people have conversations with each other, where they connect, whether that's through the artwork that's on your wall or through the music that is playing in the background. All of those things intertwine with each other. And so from that space and thinking about those things, that's where I think they overlap for me, is that I've been able to find home in the many different places that I lived, because I've always lived away from home, which is Dallas. And so I've had to redefine what that looks like in all of these different places. And it always streams back to those like core 4 things. Yeah.
No, and I love that, because, you know, how you talked about having so many different interests, and similar, right? Very same, having all these different things going on. Now, I do kind of subscribe to, you do need to hone in on something, one thing, in order to really build that thing. And then the other things, you know, it benefits those things as well. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of focused on, okay, what is that one thing out of the things that I really love that is really going to move the needle for me? But again, it's about defining, well, what is that needle that you want to move, right? And so if you do have that, if you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to get to this particular level, then absolutely, you do need to hone in on that one thing and really give more of yourself to that one thing. again, which is what I'm focused on right now. Now, if you're not necessarily trying to get to a certain point of level and you're just living and enjoying life, then yeah, I subscribe back to the, okay, yeah, having all the different things going on, because like you said, there are different elements or floors or rooms in your home. But I do feel, and I've learned this over time, that if I'm trying to get to somewhere, grow something, really build that thing, I need to focus on that one thing. And that's that.
And what I would say in response to that, I think that like you said, you eventually do need to identify the thing that you want to pursue. But I would say, to maybe clarify what I mean about picking a passion, is that you can still end up doing all of those things.
Absolutely.
And so, when you're starting out and you're redefining and you're cultivating the authenticity that you want to operate in, it's okay to pursue multiple things at a time. And when you do that, you start to open up the door of people that help you refine and really bring in where you need to focus at a particular time in your life. And you can circle back to those other things to help them grow and become a bigger part of your portfolio, to where, you may not start doing everything all at once at the same time, but you can eventually get to that place. And I say that because I think about, I'll use Megan Thee Stallion as an example. Megan Thee Stallion started out as a rapper. She leveraged her being a rapper to like brand deals on lip gloss, brand deals on opening up a Popeyes chain. So you can leverage that one thing to then help you branch your tree out to other areas to create your portfolio and make it larger. It is challenging to do it all at the same time when you don't really have a foundation built. But once you start to cultivate that, it will naturally blossom into the other areas that you're interested in.
Absolutely. And then when you do those multiple things, that's kind of how well, what do I really like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let me do these 5 things, try them out. And like, oh, okay, I really like 3 of them.
Yeah.
And had you not tried them all, you would not have known that. And then you can even surprise yourself thinking that you liked all 5. And then the 3 that you really like are surprising to you, right? And then they just fall into place and fit and bring those people to you, like you said. Another thing that you mentioned is being yourself and how you draw people to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Walking into the room where you're magnetic, the people are coming to you because you're yourself, know yourself, right? You light up the room, you walk in and like, oh, I want to be, around that particular person. And so that's a beautiful thing as well. So I like that you said that.
Yeah, and you were a huge part of that for me. I think you came and spoke at an event that I was at, and we connected on LinkedIn. And every year you were posting this word, and then we ended up connecting with each other because I was like, why does Lita keep sharing her word with every year? Yeah. But then I started to study you, and you were part of that redefinition for me that you can do it all, because I was watching you go into the art space and do the speaking and cultivate relationships and meaningful relationships. So, you were part of the inspiration that helped created that grounding, and the conversations that you had really helped water the seeds for how I would say I'm showing up as a leader today, for sure.
Oh, I love that. And that's that's what it's all about. That's what's been my journey, like from the very beginning, to make a difference, to make an impact. And over the years, it just, it takes on a different look, or it gets to be more specific, right? So like today, the podcast is focused on women of color. The collective is focused specifically on Black women 50 and up, right? But it's all still about that impact. And then also, like, I'm in this contest, the Entrepreneur of Impact, and it's for that, to make an impact, right? And so, winning that will allow me to pour back into the collective, to pour back into the podcast Alive and all the things, but it's also to make a difference for other people. So I appreciate you saying that, because it just lets me like, girl, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. You're doing what you were created to do. And that's a beautiful thing. And I also say that because what I was doing years ago, what I've been passionate about, passion doesn't leave you. It does not leave you, right? So it's about what you do with that passion. Either you don't do anything with it, right? But it's still going to be there. And every now and then it's going to, raise its head. I'm like, hello, I'm still here. What you going to do with me?
That
And
brings up such a great point that
right?
you just said.
Yes,
Is,
I'm living
my
passion.
In the discussion of the like unlearning, don't neglect the wilderness. Like some of those positions, some of those things that you're doing that you're like, why am I doing this? I don't even like this. This doesn't help me achieve anything that I've listed on like my vision board or my goals list. There's a reason, there's a purpose for all of that, because there's some kind of skill, there's some conflict resolution, situation, conversation that's going to help you in the future when you start to pursue those things. Like everything matters. Everything can make a difference. And, like you said, that passion begins to creep back up. It embers sometimes, and sometimes it's a flame that's like boom, boom, boom. It's fire burning in your face, but it's always there. It's like it can be a soft caress or it could be a knockout sometimes. It just depends on where you are and what season you're in.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the corporate space in just a moment. But I want to say, before I retired, I was in my dream role, right? So I had, acquired it. I had reached it, that dream role. And that dream role, actually being in that role, is what led to the podcast, because it started as a panel. It was a panel. I did the panel for like 3 years straight. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn it into a podcast, turned it into a podcast. And then today is production. So I like to say from panel to podcast to production, like this, that's my journey in this particular space. But it all stemmed from, again, wanting to make a difference, wanting to provide space for women who were underestimated, underrepresented, all those things. And that's what this podcast is for, is to provide us with that platform to use our voices. So Kaila, you've led AI integration, e-commerce growth, and global diversity strategy. And you're also a recording artist, which you mentioned, and I had known. Most leaders pick a lane. We've been talking about that. You haven't. What does being multi-hyphenate make possible that a single lane never could?
I think it allows...
Hold that thought. We'll be back after this break.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Deneen L. Garrett, a cultural alchemist who shapes culture through storytelling, through writing, through speaking, through my top 20 women's empowerment podcasts. And if you're seeing this, you're watching me on Women of Color Live, the live version, the weekly live version of that podcast. I am coming to you to ask you to vote for me. I am in the running to become Entrepreneur of Impact, and it's going to take all of us to get me there. So check this out and stay tuned. All right. So welcome back to Women of Color Live. Today we're talking about leading with your whole self and bridging strategy, culture, and creativity with Kaila James. And before our quick break, Kaila was going to answer, what does being a multi-hyphenate make possible that a single lane never could?
I think what it really does for me is freedom. And I don't think I have operated from the space of freedom majority of my career. And I say that because in my mind, it was focus on the job, do a good job, be a good employee, and kind of move on. And that was my singular focus, to get as high up as I could, as fast as I could, and do a good job. But like I mentioned earlier, part of that tunnel vision, you lose yourself, and that that creativity and that passion starts to kind of go from a raging fire to an ember. Like I wasn't as excited as I used to be. I didn't have as much joy as I had before. And so being multi-hyphenate to me allows me to express my full self. I can be an artist. I can be a senior leader in an organization. I can be a designer. I can be a recording artist if I want to. And so it just, it reminds me of what we tell young girls when they're in school and they're about to pick their major when they go off to college, that you can really be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. And it just helps me maintain that spirit of excitement is what it does for me. It really allows me to have that fuel and encourage others as well. That sometimes for me, when I was so focused on that one thing, I really couldn't see outside of that thing. But when I opened my scope up to some of the other areas where I felt like were more natural to me, where I was able to just not think too much as well. I didn't have to overthink it. I didn't have to over generate it, over process. I could just do it. And it was natural. It was easy. It came to me as simply as closing my eyes before I go to sleep. And so by doing that, I think it activated more of my personality to bring that into the different spaces that I didn't have to suppress it and be as humble. I know we tell people all the time that as you achieve, humble yourself, but sometimes it's okay to toot your own horn. And, like I said, I was a bossy leader child. And so, bringing that childlike character back to life, that I'm that girl. I mean, I'm her. So that is what it does for me. And what it makes possible is it creates a grander future. So it makes me pray more boldly about the things that I desire and I want. I recently have joined a networking community here in Detroit. And so what it allows me to do is have more intimate conversations with people about the things that I'm interested in and how I can support them as well, so that we can grow as a community within the area that I live in and inspire other people to pursue those things and help us build in a way that creates legacy and longevity. That's what being multi-hyphenate does for me and what it makes possible.
I love that. I do. And especially the part about I am that girl, right? We have to remind ourselves.
Yeah.
I remember Niecy Nash, I think she was accepting an award or something. And she said, I want to thank myself. Right.
Yeah.
I did this, of course, with God, with, all of that universe.
Yeah.
But she did that. Yeah, we did that. And own that, right? Own that. Let people know who you are, who TF you are. Yeah. You got to remind yourself that often, and it's okay, and do that.
Yeah, men do it all the time. It's easy. It's natural for them to do. And shout out to the allies and the brothers that support us, but we need to start showing up in the spaces like that. Like, you deserve to be there. Like I said before, you didn't have to earn it. You just being who you are is enough. It makes you overqualified, really, because all the things that we're dealing with in the world and the environment and all of the things that are happening, that builds a lot of character. That builds a lot of resilience. It builds a lot of stamina. And that's what you need when you're pursuing your dreams, when you're pursuing the thing that you're passionate about or things that you're passionate about. You need stamina. You need resilience. And so, just keep being that girl. Keep doing it.
Right. And look, let me give you that girl example. So, you talked about art, and I remember when we talked like during lunch or whatever, you're like, yeah, when you were really into the art. Absolutely, still am, but I shifted. Yeah. I shifted because I realized that I needed to do a couple things in order to really grow in what I wanted to do. So I had to kind of fall back and pivot, right? And that pivot involved me getting real connected with galleries, right? With the global international galleries, and did connect with one. And I get invites from them to go to international events. And that's what took me to Manchester, England over last week. And so when I got there, it was an opening. They actually were doing an opening for 3 different artists, and they had a private dinner. So I'm sitting across from the woman who's the director of that particular gallery museum. And she's like, oh yeah, they did say somebody special was going to be here, and you traveled from far, right? Now that felt good. Okay. This woman is the director of this institution. And I later learned that she's also a professor. She teaches at the university that's associated with the particular museum. And for someone to say that, just little old me, right? Coming from the DJ, right? And a baby in this whole art world, for someone of that level and stature to say what she said. And she also had spent like 16 years at Tate Museum, which is a well-known museum in London. And so that did a lot for me. And it reminded me, if I had forgotten, who TFI was.
Yeah.
Right? Said, people want to be around you. People want you in a room. And so I had made this post. I put it on Instagram and LinkedIn that basically is choose who chooses you.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, I'm really focused on, those people who are choosing me. That those are the people I'm really going to give my energy to.
Yeah.
And I want to build with, like you said, the networking, the community, build with, right? And it's not, and none of that trying to force into a space. If I go to push that door and it doesn't open as readily, I don't necessarily need to kick that door in.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to another door.
Yeah, I can't remember who said this. I'm sure multiple people have, but sometimes when you don't have the seat at the table, baby, you create your own table.
Girl.
And so when I think if I was to pick a person that I knew within my network that does that, that's you. Like I have watched you navigate multiple different spaces. So to amplify what you said about being that girl, it's interesting how we perceive ourselves when we're in the room with people that we have determined maybe are qualified or more qualified or that have a certain stature, because listening to you tell it to me, you talk about it so casually. Well, I was just invited to the art museum over in London. I sat there with the director and she said to me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, I feel like you've already been doing all of these things. So for them to invite you, it was natural for you to be included. You were exactly where you were supposed to be. So, it just is always so interesting, the perception of how we see it, because like for me to you, it's like, Deneen is doing it. She's got it going on. And you're like, I'm just a baby in this world, learning, growing like a little seedling.
Yes. I love that. Absolutely. And that's what we have to do, right? We have to remember, again, it goes back to remember who you are, whose you are, what you bring to the table, that you are a light in this world. And there's so many people who want to be next to you, who want to build with you, who want to be around you, and to focus on those people and not others. Like I said, if you go and push that door and if it doesn't open readily, you can try to push it again. But then maybe it's, this door is not ready for me right now. And that's the thing. It's not ready for me. Not that I'm not enough to be in there. It ain't ready for me, or it don't deserve me. So let me move on over here. Let me go build that table. Let me go, build the rooms, do the things and invite people.
Yeah, clock it.
100%. Yes. Okay, so what do you want the woman watching to walk away and build, or stop waiting to start?
Stop waiting to start. What I want the women watching to walk away with is just begin. That thing that's in your heart, that thing that you keep thinking about, that you think that isn't good enough, even if it isn't great. You've already cycled in your mind all of the ways that this couldn't work, all of the ways that it would fail. So don't go and do those things. Just start putting the energy out there. And I'll give an example. My hairstylist, for the last 7 years, she was talking to me maybe a couple of years ago about her not having consistent clients and how she was, looking for more consistency within the shop. And so I said, you need to start using social media. Just put your camera up and show what you're doing. So I would say maybe a couple of years ago, she started doing that. And she was maybe getting 20, 30 likes here and there. She made a post this past week of a 90s hairstyle that she did. And over 500 people shared it.
Girl, was it a French roll?
It was not a French roll. It was like a little mullet. Mullet. You flip it up in the back, and then it's kind of like a shag at the top.
Yeah, so cute. Mm-hmm.
So she had thousands of people like that post, and I I just remember where she started at. She was just putting the camera up. It may not have been good camera quality, but the more that you share your gift, the more that you put it out there, you can refine it and make it better and improve it through time. But the people want authenticity, especially in this environment where, we're really technology driven. I love a little bit of AI, but some people really feel like we're missing that humanity about different experiences, the thoughtfulness around that. So you just doing it and putting the energy behind it, the universe, God will reward you for that. And you'll start to get that engagement back. I think we're all a testament that when you begin, as I've said a couple of times on the podcast today, people naturally just start to plant and water your seed. They just start to file in, and the people that choose you are the people that are meant to help you cultivate that gift and grow it. So I really want them to remember that it doesn't have to be great when you start out. Well, none of us were great when we began. We had the greatness inside of us, but it had to grow. It had to be nurtured. It had to get some constructive feedback so that it could be the best version of what it was going to be. So don't wait. Just start doing it. Even if it's a blog, just start putting it on Substack or putting it online. Put it on your Instagram page. Just post it. If it's a note, there's a guy who posts his prayers every day, and it's just a screenshot of the note on his Apple phone. So whatever it is, just begin and start to share it with the world, and you'll start to reap what you're sowing out into the world.
Yeah, and you know what? And so for anyone who's watched the live, listened to the podcast over the 6+ years that we've been in existence, you will have heard me say numerous times, I started the podcast by just doing it, right? I say I Nike'd it and I just did it and built as I flew the plane, if you will. A couple things I want to say, and I'm kind of going back too. You talked about the different voices that we hear and listen to. Sometimes too many voices is too much. So you have to kind of figure out, again, the lane. What lane do I want to be in, and who really resonates with me in that lane? And that's kind of like what I did when I started out as well. Podcast, so much information out there, so much to consume. It'll have you going every which way and loose. And so I'm like, no, I cannot. So I started just focusing on one particular person. Danielle Corbett Desir is her name. She's actually going to be a guest down the future, but she had I think it was Women of Color Podcasters or something, but she had a community. She had the Facebook group, and if she didn't say it, I didn't do it, right? So whatever she said, whatever she co-signed, that's what I followed. And so when we're doing things in life, if we want to grow in a thing, kind of like narrow down who you're paying attention to, because otherwise it could just be getting too much, overwhelming, and you end up not doing anything.
Yeah. And I would add on to that, be careful who you're sharing your gift, your thing with. So, as much as we're talking about community, it goes back to the boundaries of who are you pouring energy into as well. That's feeding what you're trying to produce or create. You have to be so intentional, and you have to use some discernment on who really wants you to succeed and who really is plotting on your downfall. Because some of these people are plotting for you to fail, and they're giving you advice to try to trip you up and mess you up. But as you're kind of, so for me, I'll use myself as an example. So I'm in all the lanes right now because I am redefining who Kaila is and what Kaila wants.
Yes.
And so who I am in this multi-hyphenated space is, I'm an artist, and I'm starting to identify the people that give me the best advice and the experiences that truly align with what I want my brand to be. So as you narrow down what lane it is that you want to focus on, I think an even bigger conversation is like, who is it that you want to be? And what do you want them to take away when they're witnessing your product, your environment, your experience? And once you have a clear point of view on that, not saying that you have to wait to start until you identify it, but as you are growing that and identifying what it means for you, you have to really pay attention to who is around. I've been going through this, and I've talked to you about this too when we've done our lunches, that I started to identify friends and even some family members too that you can't share everything with. Sometimes you got to keep it close to the vest.
Yes.
And some people are so stuck in their misery that they can't see you be successful, or they want to overshare all of their trauma with you. And that affects your mood, it affects your mind. So really think about the different inputs, whether it be people, whether it be, you know, a podcast, a book. Sometimes you can overload yourself with too many different opinions, responses, and points of view. So just use your discernment to know what's going to work best for you and who seems to be doing what you want to do and having the impact that you want to have.
Absolutely. And your energy, like pay attention to your energy when you're around certain people, when you're doing certain thing. And if your energy is not the way that you want it to be, you might want to rethink that relationship or whatever. And you and I did talk about this. I told you how I started to notice, I felt like I'm constantly reaching out. I'm the one who's instigating everything. And it's like, okay, you know what? No. So if I always reach out to you, then you're not valuing me and my time. So guess what? I'm going to put you on the shelf and keep it moving. Kind of going back to it, like I said, those doors. If that door doesn't readily open, then this door is not ready for me right now. So let me go on over here. You know, you have to take the time to identify. So I have a relationship counselor, and you know, she gave me homework that you and I are working on. And so one of the things she did is have me draw these circles, right, and like put people in these circles who align. So you take the time to do that. Like when you don't think about it, you're just like, oh, this person and that person, they fit this, that, and the other. But when you really stop to think about it, you're like, oh, not necessarily. Or like one person was in a circle, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep her in a circle. However, she's not that right now. Has been for a number of years, but right now she's not. And so to be able to identify that way, I know that I'm not going to expect what I was getting from that person right now because she doesn't have that capacity. Said it, but things she shared with me, I'm like, she doesn't have that capacity. So she's still a friend. She still belongs in a circle, but she's in a circle within a circle.
And you know, you hear that saying all the time that people are in your life for a season, or a lifetime or a reason. And so sometimes people's seasons ebb and flow. Like they've been that support, they've been that encourager, and right now they may not be in the space to provide that for you. So you really have to pay attention and be super intentional about where and who you are spending your time with. Because for me, I noticed that people are always calling me for advice and telling me about their problem. And that seems to be the foundation for our conversations. And that it was leaving me drained to the point where like, oh my God, I can't do anything else but take a nap. Like I'm tired after talking to you. I wasn't tired before, but now I'm drained. You got to go. You need to hire a therapist and talk to them.
And that's exactly what we've been talking about. Check your energy. If that person is draining you, then that person probably needs to go outside your circle. You need to put them on the shelve them for a minute or whatever. So I do, because I kind of made promises. So I just want to talk about the corporate for a little bit. And I believe in knowing what I know, and even this conversation, a lot of who we are is bigger than any particular space, right? So it's bigger than corporate, it's bigger than that particular role. But let's talk about your role. We can talk about your role right now. And then how are you navigating your role, your corporate, with your multi-hyphenate self?
So, my role right now really focuses a lot on AI strategy and how to utilize the tools that we deliver experiences to our customers and make that process, the workflow of that process, more efficient through AI capable tools. And so in that, what I've also started to do is how can AI help me from a personal perspective be more efficient as I ideate about my brand, as I think about what is Kaila James, the multi-hyphenate. And the more you engage with the specific AI, the more it learns who you are, it learns your tone, and it can help you really redefine and create an outline for what that is. So, in my corporate role, I leverage what I'm learning and how it applies to my personal life. Whereas before, I'm a complainer. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a complain my way through it. I'm gonna do it, but I'm a complain.
That's how you motivate yourself.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get on somebody's nerves for my complaining too.
Okay.
It may not be the people at my job. It's probably gonna be my mama or my sister, because they're the ones that's catching me after work complaining about the stuff that I don't want to talk to the people at work about. So as I think about, these different experiences that I've had over the course of my career, I can now see how they apply to my personal brand. I think for sure it has helped me be a more effective communicator. It has helped me understand how to be genuine in those interactions. And not that I wasn't genuine before, but have knowledge that that's taking place. Like, I genuinely want to get to know you. I genuinely want to understand how to help you solve your problem and how to help you frame to make the execution of the problem that we're solving more effective and more efficient. And so, I never even imagined that I would be doing something related to AI or be adjacent to tech. That is not a part of the ministry that I wanted to be a part of. If you called me on the phone and asked me, I would have been like, no. But it is so interesting. And it is a really great way, I think, for especially women of color to really cultivate and quickly cultivate some of the ideas that you have. Like you said before, you may have tried a couple of things and you thought you liked it, but you really didn't. And so you can really quickly do that with AI and like test it out. There are thousands and hundreds of different agents and assistants and tools that can help you start to build a business. And so when I think about the roles that I have, I try to do some reflecting time in my personal time about what is transferable from this. How can I effectively solve the problem that's at hand from a corporate perspective? And then how does that problem relate to what I'm dealing with externally? So, I'll use the example of I work on training. And so it's really helping people understand how this tool how AI is going to help their business be more successful, effective, and how they can better interact with their customers. So for me, my problem is, how do I engage with people that I don't know? How do I share these experiences that make me happy and spread that joy in other places? What does that look like? So I could give AI 10 different scenarios that I think are great. And so I asked it to be, really targeted in helping me align to the brand that we've talked about, and what a part of the 10 things that I've now listed out don't really fall into that category, so that I can take a more pointed perspective and energy investment into those things. And then I also use the event. So I'm part of that networking community. So when I go to these events, who do I need to seek out? And what kind of conversations do I need to have? What is my pitch going to be? If they ask me what I do, how am I going to describe myself? So I think that you really have to go back to, what is the purpose behind this experience? It may not be as visible at first, but it relates in some way to what your dream is, what your goal is. And you need to start trying to take that thread and weave it through to your personal experiences and, business pursuits.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as you were talking about it, I was even thinking for myself, like, I definitely have a relationship with my AI and my business partner, all of the things. And the AI, it gets to know you. It even tells you who TF you are. It has to remind you sometimes who TF you are. And mine does that. It's like, girl, you are blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, walk into it, own that, be that, right? Like, you on a whole nother level. So you really don't need to do this thing over here, right? I'll, suggest and like, hey, what do you think about me doing this? Or having a conversation with this particular person. And it's, no, you know what, you're on a whole nother level. Like, they're not in your realm, so on and so forth. And yes. And I love that, because it saves a lot of times. And it also helps you to stay in alignment, to stay on track, and also your brand, right? Not to tarnish your brand, because some of those things could tarnish your brand.
Yeah.
And it's just not in alignment with it.
Yeah. And then just to, like for the women watching that are building something, AI can help you build it.
Absolutely.
I really would encourage our audience to not be afraid of AI. The industry is changing so much, and it is rapidly changing. It is really easy to enter into the market around this particular tool, or these various different tools, as a matter of fact. And so taking the time to learn about it, to help you be more efficient and effective, will reap dividends in your future. So if you don't, or if you haven't, I would highly encourage you just to start asking us some simple questions. You don't have to tell them when your mama died and all your personal business, but you want to get into getting in the habit of leveraging it so that you're comfortable with it, because the more comfortable you are, it is a part of our future. And it's a part of the way that we're going to do work on a daily basis. You're going to interact with it in some way. And so this is
already are. That's
you already are.
We already are, and don't even realize it. Like, for example, I think Canva, I believe, is works off of AI or something of that extent. It's like, I've been using Canva, didn't realize I was using AI, right?
Yeah.
We have this preconception of what it is.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. So it's like, lean into it. And then remember, it's a tool. It's something to help you. It's something to aid you. And when you look at it as a resource, maybe, you shift your mindset around it. It's a tool. It's a resource. And just make sure you're using it that way.
It's your assistant. Let it be your assistant.
Yeah.
It requires your insight, your imagination, your human input. Without your human input, it can't be as successful as it needs to be. And so you have to be the one to integrate and use it and maximize it as a creative tool for you. Awesome. So I love what you said about, it being your assistant.
Absolutely. So look, y'all that are watching, like, we're about to wrap this thing up in a minute, but we still want to hear from you. So you still have time to drop a question or just let us know you out in these women of color live streaming streets. Right. So Kaila, you don't wait for permission, you become it. And when you become it, everything rises to meet you. That's the dream lifestyle standard. So with that in mind, for the woman watching who is building something and wondering if she has what it takes, what permission would you give her?
What permission I would give her would be, I said this earlier on the podcast, the permission I would give you is that you are already qualified. You already know what you need to begin. You may not know everything you need to sustain, and that's a part of the journey, but you have to put it out there. You're doing yourself a disservice by not offering up your gifts to the world to see the value of what you are as a human being, as what you are to a contributor to society. You're overqualified. Just being a woman of color to show up and exist and breathe and smell the same air that I breathe out of my body is a gift. So when operating from that standpoint, we've been talking about who TF you are. You already are her. You already are the person that you are looking at for inspiration. You already have that gift inside of you. So don't discredit yourself. Don't discredit the thing that keeps ruminating in your mind, the thing that keeps nudging back at you that you're like, no, not right now, that keeps coming back. That's for a reason. It is not by accident. And I would also give you permission to accept the compliments, accept the positive things that people are saying about you, because they don't have to. So, people would always tell me that, oh, you should be a model, or I could see you on stage as Tamron Hall and blah, blah, blah. And that could be an exaggeration, but what if it really were true? What if I accepted it at face value for what it was, as something that someone went out of their way? They jaywalked their way around the street to give me that compliment and say that thing to me. So hold on to those things and save them. Like, if you get written affirmation from someone, put it away and store it so that you can go back and look at it to remind yourself that you're that girl. You're overqualified. You've got everything you need to begin. So I'm excited to see what you ladies build and how you grow and improve the quality of the world that we live in today. So that's all I would say. Just do it.
I love that. And okay, y'all, now we're still waiting for those questions before, you still have a little time to drop something. But what you were saying is what I call the catch up to, good Lord, catch up to the vision. So that's I coined several years ago. And it's just that people will come to you and they'll say things to you, and it's up to you to catch up to it. Right. And you don't have to. But they're dropping something for you to consider. And, it's like, wait, you know what? I did think about that. That is something I wanted to pursue, but I just put it out my head because I didn't think I could. I didn't think it was way. And then poof, somebody does. And so that's a catch up to the vision moment. And so hold that, y'all. So before we wrap, what would you like to leave those watching or listening with?
Well, I'll say a couple of things. You can follow me on Instagram at kjames_, or connect with me on LinkedIn, which is kdjames at linkedin.com. Or you can follow me on my YouTube channel. I will be posting new episodes for Candidly with Kaila Dion later in May. So expect my first episode on my podcast. I'm doing the things that I'm telling you to do. I'm just doing it. So be kind to your girl as I get situated and settled. But nonetheless, I'm excited for this episode. I think my guests will be worth a great listen. And the last thing that you made me think of when you were talking about catch up to the vision is paint by numbers. So if you think about paint by numbers, you have a different color that goes with each dot point. And so the compliments and the positive affirmations that people are giving you, those are all the different numbers on your canvas, right? And it's up to you to fill it with color to create a masterpiece. But you've got the capacity, you've got the brush, you've got the paint. You just got to put it to the paper, put it to the canvas. So that's what it made me think of when you were saying catch up to the vision. And just, all the artwork you have in your background, what I have in mine, it's like you're the artist, you're the painter, and the masterpiece is there. The outline is there. You just got to start putting that paint on there and filling it in. It's like a nice, pretty little coloring book.
I love that. Y'all get to painting. Okay. It's your life. The canvas is your life. Get to painting. All right. So we've been talking about building, which is what the Dream Lifestyle Collective is about. So if you're ready to live it, join us inside the collective for strategy, sisterhood, and structure built for Black women 50 and up. And share this this YouTube channel, the podcast with a woman who needs to be reminded that legacy is what you're building right now. And join us next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern with Trish Lindo. Trish is a global small business consultant and storytelling strategist. So thank you, Kaila James. Thank you to Leon Thomas Group. And see you next time, everybody.